Deion Barnes is on fire. Another defensive end for the class of 2025. I'm Thomas Frank Carr, fresh off our BWI live show. If you're watching this as we put it out here in the afternoon on Wednesday, Ryan Snyder, recruiting insider for Blue White Illustrated with me. Ryan, how are you doing today? Keeping up with the pace of everything going on this week?
Yeah, I'm trying, doing our best, right? What is this? Commitment number 9, I believe, in the month. Commitment number 5 or so, I think, in the last week. Especially if you include Troy Hune in that. I think it's actually more than that. What it would be? Yeah, it would be 6 if you include Troy. So anyway, let's get to the point, right? Jayden Woods, defensive end out of Mill Valley in Shawnee, Kansas. 4-star prospect, number 268 in the on 300, even a little bit higher in the industry rankings. I think 24/7 has him as right around a top 150 player. That's why he's number 200 in the national and number 23 at edge. So, I mean, either way, the main thing to know is he's a consistent consensus 4-star prospect at, all 4 major sites. And those are the players you want to be getting, right? If everybody's kind of agreeing that, hey, we don't know if he's number 218 or, 116, that stuff don't matter. If everybody's making him a 4-star, though, that obviously speaks positive to the kind of player Jayden Woods is. So I think Penn State's really happy with this one. Now, this is their 3rd straight 4-star edge rusher commitment, of course, with Granville and Cortez Harris committing a few days ago, over the last couple of days. Of course, Granville was yesterday. But, I think Penn State's really happy to get this one over the line because, man, we were talking so much about defensive line recruiting and, what's all going to happen there. And then, boom, all of a sudden, their defensive end board is in pretty good shape. I mean, they can maybe even still add another. We'll see where things go. But, edge looks much safer now if you're a Penn State fan, wondering where this is all going to go.
Yeah, and they went out of region to do it. You mentioned Max Granville from Texas, going to the Midwest to get from Shawnee, Kansas, Jayden Woods. How has that been? How has that developed in his recruiting journey?
Yeah, I would say that this almost started back in 2006, 2007, when James Franklin was an offensive coordinator at Kansas State. And you guys are like, what are you talking about? Well, James recruited his father, Justin Woods, to Kansas State while he was still there. Of course, it was a team effort, right? I mean, James was the offensive coordinator at the time, so I don't want to pretend he was the lead recruiter or anything like that. But there was a good relationship there dating back to that time. James ends up going to Maryland in 2008, so they didn't spend a ton of time together. But I do think that relationship and that connection helped get this started. And that's, Penn State offered, I think it was May 2023. They steadily kind of built a relationship from last fall into this winter. And, that leads to getting him on campus in, I believe it was mid-March. I think it was maybe in the first spring practice he was at. So March 12th, I want to say. Big visit there, of course. That's his first time on campus. And, by the time he left there, he made it pretty clear that Penn State was going to get one of his official visits, and sure enough, they did. Tennessee, Purdue, and Wisconsin were the other 3 schools. But really, when he left his official visit to Penn State, which was June 7th to the 9th, I want to say, there was like a quiet confidence, I would say, that Penn State's probably in the driver's seat for this one. The main thing that I think many were wondering about was Purdue, and Purdue had really recruited him hard throughout. And then Tennessee kind of came on late as well. But, there certainly has been a quiet confidence there with Woods over the last couple of weeks. And Penn State's happy to get this one over the line because, he's a heck of an athlete. If you look at some of his track numbers and all the different things he's accomplished. I mean, he's a 2-time, I believe it's shot put champion and just won the discus as well this past May. So, Penn State loves seeing those explosion numbers, when you're looking at shot put and discus and all those things. And when you're taking those numbers and, translating to how they could be as an offensive or defensive lineman, whenever you're stacking up pretty well and putting up big numbers like that they get excited.
I want to show this, but the last time I screencast X onto our YouTube channel, I had my X account taken down temporarily. So I'll just say that if you go and you check out his feed, 40-inch jump. And there's photographic evidence. I don't know if it's exactly 40 inches. It looks like it's being measured on a jump pad. So that's pretty impressive. He's got one of 37.5 inches. Explosiveness is a big deal. And we'll be getting into that in his full game breakdown over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com in T. Frank's film room. Of course, you can read everything that Ryan has to say about this particular recruitment at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com and subscribe to do that. Code PSU1, 2 months for $1. For you checking out all of our committed series videos here, you're getting the information about these guys. It's kind of the initial overview. There's hours and hours and hours of content and conversation at bluewhiteillustrated.com, in the message board and premium articles about these guys, and you can get in and try that 2 months for $1 with code PSU1. And of course, if you're here on the YouTube channel, you're watching Penn State get another edge defender, another 4-star player, like the video and subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Always appreciate you doing that. Any other interesting nuggets of this particular recruiting story from Jayden Woods before we get into kind of what we think he is in this recruiting class? Because these out-of-region guys are fascinating to me in terms of there's not, we gave you some of his testing data that there is, but there's not a lot of, these guys didn't camp at Penn State. They didn't come religiously to know them as a bit of a deeper prospect, but they are obviously very good football players. So just what are your thoughts on Jayden Woods and this particular recruiting story from some of those angles or from some of that?
There's other, obviously his school put out testing numbers for him, 4.57, what was it, a 10.5 broad. Like, if all those numbers are 100% legit, like, oh wow, this is a really special athlete. And I have no reason to believe they're not. I guess the one thing I always stress is, like, if I'm looking at this as like Penn State's coaching staff, it's always like, okay, those are great, but you have to take it with a grain of salt because you don't know who is clocking and you know who's measuring and all that stuff. And it's just when it's a big business like it is in major college football, you're happy to see those kind of things, but without verifying them yourself, you have to
kind of like the height thing. If he says he's 6'5", but he's really 6'3", like, those are the conversations. There's always a little bit of fudging.
Right. And we deal with that heights and weights way more than we do with testing numbers, obviously. But I mean, look, there's some really exciting numbers if that's all legit. And, if you look at what he's been able to do with, like I said, on track and or a shot put and discus, there's no doubt, like, a 10.5 explode broad. Yeah, that kind of makes sense because he's clearly a pretty explosive athlete with some of the results he's had. But other than that, pretty cut and dry recruitment, man. I mean, Penn State got in early and we're able to get the job done.
So let's get into some of this, and I just think it's interesting when you look at this particular recruiting class with Deion Barnes and the flavor it's starting to display. Max Granville and Cortez Harris, and now you've got Jayden Woods. They're all built kind of the same way. 6'3" is what we got here. We have 235 pounds. He's the I would say is he the biggest of this group? What is Granville clocking in at this point? I forget.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, but anyway, they're all kind of these. I'm not going to call him a tweener because you look at him on film and he's got a great frame. I think he can be the most prototypical of this group in the fact that he's got 33-inch arms. He's got a great frame, those explosive testing numbers, but it's just all really good. When you look at this, I think Penn State fans should feel pretty good about this defensive end room because you've got two guys that have serious potential. He doesn't pop off film the same way that Granville does in terms of that first step and the explosiveness, but we're also talking about a very high threshold. So Penn State gets another really good defensive end prospect from this class. I like the way he bends. I like the way he's able to use his hands. And again, we're not talking about he's an expert and has a bevy of tools, but does he know how? Is he aware that he has hands on his body when he's pass rushing? And you can see here, he's got great run defense skills. He's willing to throw a shoulder into a puller and set the edge of the run in his gap. He can drop. He can do all the things that a modern defensive end is supposed to do. And generally the frame here is excellent. So I think that's the thing they were needing in this class, is somebody who's got a little bit bigger of a body, who isn't going to be a total projection about position or weight or those things. I think Jayden Woods brings that size element, even if it's not 6'5", 250 already. He does bring more of those size elements to this class. And Fitz and I always go back on this. He's like, get good players. And I'm like, absolutely, for sure, get good players. But you also do need, you can't have all 5'11" wide receivers and 6'2" edge defenders. You do need a couple of different skill sets in the class. And I think that this is turning into a pretty well-rounded edge class. And that doesn't even count Deshaun Burnett, who I think is still a linebacker, or at least at the very minimum, a defensive athlete tag for this class of 2025.
You said it all, man. I don't know what else to add other than that. But
I did that thing where I said all the things. My bad.
It'll be interesting here, man. Obviously, they got to get some wide receivers on board, but the end's filling up pretty quick. I think they still could add another end. We'll see where things go. But, it's all about kind of wide receiver, getting a couple tackles in here. And, before you know, man, this class is going to be at, I don't know. This guy's going to be at 24 within a week or two with the way things are going. It might be done here pretty quick.
Is that this is typically how it goes, right? Just so for people who are new to recruiting or new to following us, Penn State likes to have a lot of this sewn up before training camp starts, where they might be going after one or two players heading into what is now the December period, the signing period, instead of having, going into that national signing period with 5 stars that are taking it all the way to the line. They like to have these guys kind of wrapped up at this point, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, look, that's kind of the pattern you get into if you're a major program, because if you're a major program like Penn State and all the other big ones in the Big Ten and SEC, like you have big enough recruiting staffs, so you get on guys early, and, you just kind of keep those dominoes going. And, look, if they can get this class pretty much sewed up here in the next 2-3 weeks, well, then you got the Lash Bash coming up at the end of July. You can really focus on 2026 guys, set the ground level, I guess, of, where things should go with a bunch of those guys. So yeah, that's definitely the goal. But, at the same time, man, like there's a lot of guys out there right now that I think are committed to other schools that I wouldn't be shocked if Penn State's able to flip some guys, and we'll see. Maybe they'll be full, maybe they won't need to, but man, there's quite a few players that I feel like are kind of soft commitments right now to other schools, and we'll leave that tease for another day, but we'll see.
You're doing a great job with those. You have embedded those deep into this video. So again, great reason to go to bluewhiteillustrated.com. Ryan Snyder, you're getting good at this. You're getting good at these videos. We've done enough of these now that you've got the rhythm down.
Yeah, geez, never ends.
Well, we'll be back with more of them, as Ryan just said. There's a big week and a lot of stuff coming. He also has put over at bluewhiteillustrated.com on a couple message board threads the expected announcement dates of key recruits, so you can check all of that out as well.
Friday. Sorry to cut you off there, but I think that's the next big one for Penn State fans to circle. But yeah, I mean, the last 2 days we were getting surprise commitments. That is a surprise guys we knew were coming or should come, but just guys who didn't have commitment dates locked in, right? So who knows? Maybe we'll meet again tomorrow, Thursday, after the recruiting show. And by the way, recruiting show, 10 a.m. Join us. We got a lot to talk about.
So we'll be back at TBD, which it could be in 10 minutes of the way this week is going. But Ryan's given you a pretty clear indication of the guideposts you need to keep your mind out for. But the best way to know is to subscribe to Blue White Illustrated's YouTube channel. If you hit the notification when we go live, we post a video, your phone gets it, your laptop, whatever, wherever you've got notifications enabled, you'll know, you'll watch the video, and you'll be smarter than all your friends. And if you're like me, that's very important to you. We'll be back with the next one here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel.